Welcome to the Embodied Woman podcast. I am your co-host, Amber Sousa, along with my lovely co-host, Siri Baruch Thornton. And today I'm so excited because we are having on the incredible Keri Murphy
Woo
of
woo.
Inspired Living TV. I have known her for quite a few years now, and I'm just really excited to have her on and share her story. She is a powerhouse. She is a powerhouse. She has a very powerful story. She's built a very, very impressive business. We actually met through a mutual friend, I want to say back in 2019, at a Super Soul Sessions where Gabby Bernstein was one of the speakers. And so, yeah, so that's kind of how we
Cool.
met. Yeah. But let me go ahead and read her bio so that when she hops on, we can just dive right into a conversation. Does that sound good?
Perfect.
Okay. All right. Here we go. The CEO and founder of Inspired Living, Keri Murphy is committed to empowering people all over the world to dream it, live it, be it. This international speaker, media expert, and business mentor honed her expertise in the entrepreneurial field for 20 years and on camera for over 3 decades. Her company specializes in teaching entrepreneurs how to clarify their message, authentically show up on camera, and leverage video in order to build an influential brand. A veteran of television with appearances on MTV, E, Fox, and NBC, to name a few, Keri brings her hand-worn entrepreneurial knowledge and on-camera expertise to her clients through public speaking, mentoring, and her Inspired Living TV web series, helping entrepreneurs stay inspired and educated on what it takes to build a 7-figure brand. I'm here for that. She was chosen to be a mentor for the prestigious Branson Centre of Entrepreneurs and was a member of Ali Brown's Premier Group. Murphy, along with her incredible team of expert coaches, has helped hundreds of entrepreneurs from around the world share their message and increase their income and positive impact on the planet. I mean, who doesn't want that? Increase their
Yes.
income and positive impact on the planet. That is what I'm here for. That is what you are here for. The company's signature It Factor training is the most sought out on camera training for entrepreneurs in the US and has been featured on CNN, ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, and many more. Keri is a warm, honest, funny, and captivating teacher who can spot and cultivate the it factor in her clients and students and help them shine on stage, on camera, and in their lives and businesses.
I
That's,
mean,
yeah. And I will
wow.
say, I have actually been to several of her events. She puts on, I think she's still doing it, an annual event called the Brilliant event.
Okay.
And she has brilliant, embodied, successful women come on and share their story. And she does have an incredible team of expert coaches. And she is one of the most charismatic,
Hmm.
um, lovely, warm, captivating, that's a perfect word, women that you could meet. And she's really passionate about what she does. So
I am so curious about her story growing up. Like, there she is. Perfect.
perfect timing. She's so pretty.
So cute.
I'm totally like hair up today. I'm just like,
Hey,
this is what we're doing today. Hi, ladies.
Yes,
I
you look
love it.
gorgeous. You're
Hi,
gorgeous.
Keri. This is my friend
Hi.
Siri. Meet
Hi,
Keri.
Siri. Hi, Amber. It
Hi.
is so good to see you too, girl.
It's so good to see you. I just read your bio so that we got that out of the way. But I was telling Siri, do you remember how we met?
It's a test.
I know. I will tell you. We met at the Super Soul Sessions that Oprah did at UCLA, I want to say, back in 2019. And Gabby Bernstein was one of the speakers.
I totally remember that event. We met there?
I think so, because I think you were with Terry, who is a mutual friend of ours.
So sorry, Amber.
That's okay.
Okay. Sorry.
Multitasking.
Yes. The door shut means don't open it.
I know, right? But you're a woman and you're a mom and you're like you do everything and you have to be available at all times.
Yeah. So okay. I totally
think
remember that
so.
event. And that's where we met.
Yeah. Yeah. you came with Terry, our mutual friend,
Yes.
and we were introduced, and we were like, yeah. So that was that. And then I was telling Siri, I've been to several of your brilliant events.
Yes.
Um,
We missed you this year. It was good.
I know, I know. You're down in Orange County now, right?
I'm in Carlsbad. Take it a little further.
Oh, I love
Yeah.
Carlsbad. The flower farm there is so
So pretty.
incredible.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
so
gosh.
pretty. I have to say, we've been here 2 years now.
Uh-huh.
I'm still adjusting.
Mm,
But there's just, it's such a suburban feel
Mm-hmm.
where, Hermosa, Redondo, Manhattan, there's a vibe,
Yeah.
But I will say, I really love the quiet sometimes. And I love the gated community that my kids can play in. I don't worry about them, getting crashed on PCH. Um,
Yeah.
but it is definitely a different energy for sure. Where are you, Amber? Because I know you moved.
I'm in Palos Verdes.
Okay.
I'm still in the South Bay, and I'm
Yeah.
I'm pretty close to South Redondo, so
Okay. Do you like
yeah.
it there? We always thought about it.
I love it. I
Really?
love it. Yeah. I actually really love the quiet.
Yeah.
I'm not I don't
See,
know.
I do and I don't. I miss the walking out and like being able to walk down to the beach. I think I miss that the most.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I can still drive. I mean, I drive down, to the Esplanade and I'm there in like 6 minutes and I can walk. So
Yeah.
it's okay, but it's very quiet here. But
Yeah.
anyhow,
Okay.
I I want to make the most of this conversation because there's so much that I
there
want.
is.
I mean, I was telling Siri like your events. So I mean, you have these women that you call in or that you attract or that you magnetize or that that are in your world that are all incredibly embodied and powerful and successful and all the things that everyone who is listening to this podcast um, wants to be in that energy and wants to step into that type of embodiment.
Hmm.
um, but I want to go back to tell us a little bit about your story, a little bit about your journey. Like, how did you end up doing what you're doing now? Was there a major catalyst that put you on this journey that you're on right now? Let's just
Are
start
we are
there.
we are we jumping in?
Let's just jump in.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
just so curious, like where you were born and how you grew up. Like, what were you like as a little girl? I just want to know. Like, bring us back to the to
Oh my
the
God. So those
to
are
the
two very different
original.
questions and I love them both. So let's go way back to Keri 1.0.
Let's go.
V1, right? So I was actually born in Hollywood, Florida, which is so crazy because you couldn't pay me enough to live in Florida. But yeah, that's where I was born. I was born in Hollywood, Florida, and then my mom and dad moved out to Oregon. So I was
That's
born in
where I
Florida,
am. I'm
raised
in,
in Oregon, our Pacific Northwest girl. And here's the craziest thing, though, ladies. So I have two sisters. I have an older and a younger. My mom does hair. My two sisters do hair. My uncle does hair. Like, it was like I was destined. So it's just funny. Even at the collective event I just ran, they were asking, "Is anyone in here the black sheep?" I'm like, "No, but I'm the sparkly one. Like I'm just not doing the same thing that everyone
Yeah,
else is doing. But I'm not the black sheep. I'm the sparkly sheep."
I like that.
Um, so growing up in Oregon, obviously it rains quite a bit there.
oh yeah.
And my room was palm trees, oceanscape, dolphins, throw in a couple flamingos for good measure. But that was my room. And I loved my room. In fact, on movie night, Friday nights, everyone's eating pizza and watching a movie. I just wanted to be in my room. I would rearrange things. I would make like photo albums, and I didn't know what they were at the time, but like vision journals, and I would write out the lyrics to hip hop songs. I loved. And so it's no accident that I live in Southern California. Although, if you would have told me that earlier on, I don't know if I would have believed it to be true. So my first year of college, I came out um, to school here in Southern California. And then being the middle child, the fixer of my family, when my parents got divorced, I went home.
Mm,
And that was a whole different trajectory because I was like, what do I do now? I was going to school for journalism, always knew I wanted to be Mary Hart from Entertainment Tonight, dating myself just a little bit. But that was it. Like, that's just what I knew I was meant to do. And when I went home to support my parents, I found myself in a place of, well, now what? And so I reached out to the talent agency I went through as a little girl and said, "Hey, can I work here?" And the owner was like, "Yeah, of course you can. Sure." So for 5 years, I worked every role of this talent agency. It also had a little performing arts center. If you're familiar with like the Barbizons of the world or the, John Casablancas. So growing up, it was either Supermodel or Mary Hart. And I always joke, I found out I was Italian and Supermodel was not going to happen. But I just always had a real affinity of performance, of being on camera. And I will say, I think we all have God gifts, and that was definitely one of mine. Although as a young girl, just like the adults I work with now, ladies, horrified of seeing myself on camera. I mean, it was like watching Freddy Krueger on steroids. It was so bad. Like that critic in us is so strong. But just to wrap up the story, so I worked for this previous agency owner for 5 years, really worked in every single role of her organization. And then, like so many entrepreneurs, I was like, there's got to be more, right? Like, I'm a true visionary. And I was like, I'm bored. I got to get out of here. So, my girlfriend at the time started an interior design business. And before you know it, I'm in trade school for interior design. And I opened up my own business after working 8 months in a furniture store. And for 5 years, I did interior decorating. Loved it. Again, love creating beautiful things, love embodying beauty and having that around me. And 5 years in, once again, it's like the 5-year itch. I was bored working for myself, by myself. And my mom called me one day and said, Keri, there's a modeling agency for sale. And I said, Mom, if I was to ever own an agency, I would want to develop talent. I think one of my gifts is seeing potential in people. Since I was a little girl, I see people, I see the possibility in them. And the codependent Keri wants to go fix them and help them, right? But as a coach, I've learned to support them in a different way. So
We
my
can
mom and
relate.
so my mom and I ended up buying the agency I went through as a little girl. So again, just go with me here. So I
Wow.
went through it. I worked for her 5 years out of coming back, kind of out of a more tragic time, and then ended up buying that agency at 27 and had it till I was 33 when the 2008 recession hit.
Your
And that
mom, your
lady
mom bought the agency.
with me. So we both put down
Okay. Okay. Got
$15,000.
it. Got it.
And at 27, that's a lot of money for
Yeah.
27.
Yeah.
I always joke, like, thank the Lord for American Express. But what's so funny about this story, ladies, is I think we're just constantly manifesting. We're constantly, bringing into life what we really want, whether we know it or not. So in 2008, when that, big real estate bubble hit and we had this great recession, I was forced to short sell my home, to close my talent agency. And I mean, going back to that time, it's still like right here. I still feel it so much. It was so devastating and so profound in creating the business I have today, the life I have today. So that was a very long-winded answer to tell me where you were. And then what was the catalyst for your business now, Amber? Like that was it. Like losing it all in 2008. And I had no choice. Like, what am I going to do? Stay in Portland and watch it rain? No, I'm going to move to LA. Right? I'm gonna finally pursue my childhood dream of being on camera full time. I did it. I was booking great jobs and my soul was dying every single day. So it was through that, inspired living came to be. And so, I mean, have you ever heard the quote, you can't connect the dots in front of you, you can only connect them behind you?
Yes.
I mean, when I look back at those dots, I still,
How
like years
perfect.
later, I get chilies all over because God is so good. The plan is so good. But man, there was a lot of hurt and heartache through that time too.
Oh, I love that so much for so many reasons. Um, One of the things I just want to mention is, you talked about like that 5-year itch. You would do something, you'd feel inspired, and then you're like, there's got to
That's
be
it.
more, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have been accused of that, but not like in a flattering way, like in a negative way. But so I love hearing that from really successful people because that's not a negative thing. That's like, let me find my way and let me
Yeah.
also gather all the tools that I need to do what's in front of me. Like you've needed to have all of those experiences to bring you to where you are right now.
Yes.
And also it's so good to hear somebody say, like, I can look back on all the things that didn't make any sense to me, that were painful, and I can look back from where I stand now and I can be so thankful, even though maybe there's still some emotion attached to it or some sadness, but you can see how perfectly orchestrated it was
Yeah.
to bring you to this moment. And I think that's just so valuable and so important because God knows I've got some dots where I'm like, okay, God,
We got some
okay,
dots.
I
We have,
know these dots
yes.
are leading me somewhere.
And the thing is, they do. It just depends on, what are you looking at? What are you focusing on? And I really do think one of my gifts, we've been doing a lot of team assessments and things like that. Like I'm a 10 on optimism, human design. I'm a manifesting generator.
I knew
Just
it.
had,
I knew
yeah,
it.
just had astrology done. You're an innovator. You're a visionary. So like,
Yeah.
I think we also have to look at who are we as people. Like if you have a 5-year itch, it's because you're an innovator. It's because you're a visionary. There's nothing wrong with that. You have to reinvent the wheel. However, as an entrepreneur who's in her 12th year in the same company, I have learned like rinse and repeating is really, really good. And you can still be innovative and you can still, be a visionary. So I've learned from a CEO point of view, kind of how to merge those together. You don't have to abort ship to, be creative and fulfill that part of you.
I'm just so taken by the part of the story about your mom and you going into business together and her having that vision and that courage and that trust and putting
Yeah.
it all on the line with you.
Yeah.
That's so freaking moving to
My
me.
mom's the
It's like,
best. She
wow.
really is. She has always been my greatest cheerleader. She's also been the one who always says, Keri, you cannot do everything. You have to stop doing something. I'm like, no, mom, no. Um, and what's so beautiful, she was a silent partner. And when the agency failed, it didn't fail. Let me just say that. Like it was actually, we took it from 150 to almost $1 million. We had 500 talent we represented. I'm really proud of it. And
Yeah.
I didn't know better. Looking back, I had no idea we had this recession. I was so young. I will say, looking back, I wish I would have had mentors and coaches and like people I relied on because I'm not going to call my mom and be like, Mom, what's happening right now? Because I want to prove myself. I don't want to ask my mom for help. And when I started asking for help, it was like too little, too late. Such a great lesson I have brought with me into inspired living because I really, ladies, from the bottom of my heart, think asking for help is actually a sign of leadership and strength versus weakness. But when I was in my 20s and early 30s, I just wanted to prove myself so much. I just didn't want to have to ask for help. So, lesson learned.
Well,
Amen.
when you say failure and then you corrected yourself, that's right, because that kind of success without asking for help
Yeah.
or having any mentors that you can point to, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you
That's
for that,
insane.
Keri. Thank you. I will say I loved it so much, but it wasn't ever, if I'm really honest with myself, it wasn't ever like my zone of genius. If you know Gay Hendricks in that book, it was very
Hmm.
much my zone of competence. In fact, I would even say it was zone of excellence. I'm really great at developing, cultivating talent. I'm the greatest cheerleader on the planet, but I wasn't using my true God-given gifts, my speaking, my, being
Yeah.
able to move crowds, to inspire people to greatness. Like I wasn't using that. I was sitting behind a desk every day. So again, a great lesson moving into business number 3 is being tapped into that. And when I'm not, how I feel. Like I really start feeling depleted and melancholy when I'm not plugged in.
Hmm.
And I think it's really important as females, as women, when we're talking about embodiment, it's like, who are you meant to be and how are you nurturing her? Because it's really easy to put on mom hat, to put on partner hat, to put on executive or CEO, but are you really fulfilled? And are you really embodying who you're meant to be in the world? Which can seem like, oh my God, that's so big. But I know for me, my energy, just if I feel like I'm like a caged animal for too long, I'm like, get me out.
Yeah, you
So
have to expand. You're manifesting generator. You gotta,
yes.
yeah, keep iterating. I'm just curious. I think Amber would like this too, is like the visibility thing. You're very big on let's be visible and you're good at being visible. But for someone who's been visible, Amber and I have both been visible people, but not so much for her, but I've become an introvert. Like, how do you help women to be more comfortable with coming out?
I love that question, Siri. So what do you feel has been the shift for you? Why do you feel, have you
Become,
always been an introvert?
no, I was an actress. So becoming a mom and and COVID
Yeah.
kind of like solidified it. I was like, okay, we moved to Camas, Washington, just outside Portland,
I know
Oregon.
exactly where that is. That was my first interior design client was in Camas, Washington.
Oh,
Oh
I
my
love that.
God.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, like so I always lived in like New York City and LA and plays and
Big
movies and
change.
commercials, the whole thing. And, but yeah, yeah. So,
Well, what I would say to that is, kind of going back to why would you be visible? Now, as an actress, right, you have a very clear role as to why you're visible, because if they can't see you, you can't be a part, right, of the story. But if you think about like I'm playing a role in my story every day, and with the entrepreneurs we work with, the thing I say so much to them is video and being visible is actually not about you. It's not a self-serving thing. It's
mhm.
not look at me as much as society wants you to feel like everything's about you. Like when it comes to being visible, what helps break that barrier is understanding that you're only there as a conduit for God, energy source, to use you as a vessel to go support someone else, right? Our job through being visible is to, at least let me say, my job through being visible is to impact people's lives, to help them step into possibility, for them to learn by my mistakes, for them to have support and understand they're not alone in what they're going through. If they carry a big vision for their life, bringing it to fruition and what that looks like. So on the days I do not want to press record, I'm tired, I'm not about it. I have those days too. I think about her. I think about Keri when she lost everything and really needed someone to tell her, like, there's something on the other side of this for you. You're valuable, you're needed. And Siri, there were so many times I just didn't know how to get to where I wanted. I knew I could. There was never a question of can I create? Am I good enough? I know that sounds so ego, but that was never
No.
my thing. It was
Mhm.
how.
Yeah.
How do I do it? Like I have this vision. What do I do with it? And so if I don't show up for female entrepreneurs, how are they going to understand the how? So,
Mm.
I feel like we
It's
are
about
we are
your
conduits.
why. Yeah.
Yeah,
You've
we're
got a clear
conduits.
why.
Yeah. So I would
How
say go back to that.
how much of the how is connected to really, really aligning with all of who you are meant to be. Because you talked about the other business that you had and how you loved it and you were great at it and you were successful. But deep in your heart, you knew that there was more.
Yeah.
So I know for me, I've let go of two businesses because of that inner calling that's saying to me, there's more for you. Like,
Yeah.
this is
I have
great.
chills for you,
This
Amber.
is
Yes.
great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is great. And there was a lot of proving. I had a lot of that proving energy in my last business. Like, I just need to prove that I'm good enough and smart enough and I can do this. But like that little voice kept saying, you're not using all of
Yeah.
your gifts.
Gosh, do
You're
I
not
know that
using all of
voice?
your gifts. So the how, right? When you, because like you said, right? I have this vision. Many of us have this vision. Like, I feel like I've been to the future and back. Like, I know who she is. I know
Yeah.
what she's doing. How much of the how is connected to really aligning with all of who you know that you are meant to be and really embodying all of the gifts that God gave you in this
Yeah,
lifetime?
I think it's huge. I think it's huge. And let me tell you why. Especially in the social media landscape that we live in, we are inundated every day by marketing messages, by people saying, if you just do this one thing, it's going to rain money. Your life will be perfect. Right? Like if you just take this one pill, if you just launch the membership, if you just do this, then everything becomes easy. And what I have learned, Amber, is the more I try to adhere to those things, if they're not really connected to my why or my vision, or I don't want to do that. Like
Yeah.
that's not in alignment with me. I don't want to work that hard, or that doesn't feel like a fit for me. Instead of trying to find, it's like Cinderella, like trying to put on every shoe to see if it fits.
Yeah.
Like, why don't you just go buy the right size? And that comes down to knowing who you are, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
Absolutely.
I think the how is very much so. And I have learned that there are basic principles and tools to building business, right?
Right.
And when
Right.
people come to me, they come to me in a technician, which means that they run the thing, right? They're the healer, they're the coach, they're the med spa owner, they're the realtor. But what they don't understand is that they are not what they do. They're not what they do. What they do is their job, right? It might
Mhm.
be even their vocation. But like, who are you that makes what you do so exciting? That makes what you do so different? And I got really caught up. Gosh, when I owned the talent agency, Keri Murphy had no identity other than she runs a talent like that was my Chico, like,
Yeah.
and so when I was stripped of that, I had to really take some time, and I did 2 years deep dive personal development, not even planned, just perfectly divinely orchestrated. And I will say I really got to tap back into who she is. And so I would say if they're in a place right now where they don't really know, like that's a great place is be like, what does light you up? And are you always working in technician mode, or are you able to pull yourself out and look at your business as a CEO, as a visionary? And that is a different muscle for sure. And I'm building that muscle every day. And I will say that that's like growing pains. I will
Yeah.
This is my 12th year with Inspired Living. And Amber, I mean, I will tell you, like, what gets you to six figures? Does it get you to 500,000? Now we're doing multi seven figures, which I'm so proud of. And with
Wow.
that comes new level of responsibility, new level of
Right.
leadership. I need to
Right.
make decisions differently. And so like who you become in the entrepreneurial like journey is it's a lot.
Yeah, I just saw the Kate Northrup put out something with these women, like to learn from.
Yeah.
And you were one of them. I was like, why are kids on that? Oh my God.
On there. I
That's
love
so
Kate.
amazing.
She's so wonderful. Yeah.
That is so cool. I want to go to the moment when you moved out to California and you had to let go of the talent agency. Where were you at emotionally? Where were you at with like what was next for you? How did God show up for you? Like, take me to that moment.
Oh my gosh, Amber. So when I moved out to LA, the only thing I had left was my leased car. And I packed it up with my mom. Again, go mom. She drove down with me. And the funniest story, now this again just shows God is everywhere. So I moved in off of Hollywood and Highland. And if you don't know where that
Oh
is,
God.
if you put a dot on where you don't want to live in Los
Yeah,
Angeles,
totally.
that would be it. But here's the thing. The only time I went to LA is when I was scouting agencies for my talent. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would do this. So where are all the talent agencies? Off of Sunset, right? They're
Mm-hmm.
right in that area. So that's what I knew. So I rented a room out of it was Mr. Gillette, like one of his first homes. And it was
Right.
like this old broken down. I wouldn't even say it's a mansion, but it looked pretty cool. But the area, anyway, I walk in and the ladies were from the Pacific Northwest, and there were three generations in the house. Now, this story's so good, that's why I have to share it. I walk in and I'm like, mm, energy, you just feel bad juju.
Ooh.
And I was like, mm. So my mom's with me and she's like, I don't know. I walk up into my room. I was supposed to live in the basement or in the apartment that someone else was renting and wouldn't leave. So then they put me upstairs in a bedroom that I wasn't supposed to have. I walk in and there's like demons and witchcraft and like all these things in my room. And my mom is like,
Oh,
no,
no.
we are like trying to get everything out. So my mom's with me for a week and she leaves. And I couldn't stay in the house because, again, the energy was just really off for me. And there was a little cafe down the street. And ladies, listen, like this is such a good story. So I'm down and I'm on a phone call with a Portland guy that I was, kind of talking about work. And I had this, I have to go. I have to go. I'm so sorry, Elliot. Like, I have to go back to the house. I went back up to the house and the police were there because they were evicting the owners. Now, I had been there a week.
Oh
Oh,
my God.
And they're telling me I have 15 minutes to go get all of my things. Now, here's the really amazing part. The night before, or 2 nights before, I went and looked at another place to live at like 9 o'clock at night in the valley. I'm like, what am I doing? The girl was super cool. I remember I was in my jammies watching Grey's Anatomy, and she's like, just come over, like, come check it out. But I didn't know if I could afford the room. Anyway, if I did not get out of my jammies that night, if I did not
Yeah.
go see that other place, and if I did not listen to my instinct when I was on the phone, again, like God, source, intuition. And so I ended up moving 7 times in 3 years. Just
Oh God.
but I was
been
such
there,
a
done that.
yeah, I mean, I I just remember that day so specifically of, what a godsend, truly. Like what a gift. The angels were there saying like you have to go back up. And I moved into the other room like that day because I had to get out of the house. But that time in my life was like that. I feel like it was like that. I would get a job and then the job would get canceled, or I was doing the host hustle. I was teaching modeling and acting classes. I was doing whatever it took. The contract that I had that actually thought I would be okay, the guy ended up in jail. And I get to LA and I have no paycheck. At least I thought I had some paycheck. No, I had
Oh my.
nothing. And so it was scrappy. It was what,
Yeah.
but that's always been kind of, I'll do whatever it takes. I don't mind that. But I would say the first 3 years living in Los Angeles, it was just scrappy.
Yeah.
LA can be like that.
Right. For most people, it's gosh, Siri, I remember walking into rooms where I would be like, what am I doing here? At 33, I could have been 93 in LA. And, you have all these 20 something supermodels you're competing for spokesperson jobs with. But I will say, I got really immersed into personal development. I became an NLP practitioner for a year and traveled the world, neurolinguistics. Who would have thought?
Wow.
Um, and it was an audition for a spokesperson job. It was a 3 hour wait in the audition room. I was wearing a bikini and a cover up. And again, not that I have body shame, but I knew very well like that wasn't like my best and highest.
Right.
And I remember walking out of that audition sobbing. Like I just
Oh.
wasted and again, as an entrepreneur, like 3 hours, like waiting in a waiting room. Like, are you kidding me? And then I have to just, unrobe, do my 2 minute little spiel and walk out. I mean, talk about just feeling like you hit the bottom. And that was my last audition I ever have gone on. And I remember it was that day I said I'm going to launch Inspired Living TV. I reached out to Kevin Sorbo, who was a golf fan because I was a host on
You
the
know,
Golf
I was
Channel.
in a movie opposite of him.
No, I did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Very
Hercules.
cool.
Spent
Yeah.
spent spent a few weeks in Texas with him.
Oh, he seems like such a
Very
sweet
cool.
guy. That was my first interview, and it just grew from there. And Inspired Living just grew from there. But Siri, it was that moment where I said, I'm no longer going to play this game. I'm not going to wait for someone to validate what I know I'm good at. I'm not going to sit in a room with a bunch of supermodels for 3 hours pretending I'm something I'm not. Like I'm just not. I'm not doing it. And that was the last audition I've ever been on.
Amazing.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
So many questions. Okay,
Okay.
so how have you created, you talked a little bit about some of your practices, but like how have you created the nervous system that can relax into this flow of being a steward for finances?
Hmm. It's a really good. I think it's something I'm constantly working on in total transparency.
Yeah.
Um,
Thank you
and I
for
will
that.
say, yeah, no, I absolutely. And this is, again, I run a multi seven figure business, but because I've lost one in the past and I've done a lot of healing, I've done a lot of energy work, I've had a spiritual coach, I've worked on my abundance, I breathe, I pray, and doing all that work, it still lives in me, right? That pattern interrupt that's like, okay, don't get stuck in fear, don't get stuck in scarcity. I have amazing team members that keep me on point. I also, that what I did not have in my earlier years was actually a plan. I was so reactive to things. I'd be like, oh my gosh, I need money. What am I going to do? Let me go get a client. Now, of course, I have a team and it's a much different thing, but we have projections all through the year. We know how we're going to bring in clients, but that doesn't mean that nervous system and that fear doesn't get activated when we hit a certain threshold. And I don't think it's a constant practice. I really work on breathing. I work on journaling. I do all the intention work. Sometimes I'm better than others. I will say earlier on, when I was more of like a single mom, I was much better with intentions and creating that space. Now with two littles and a husband that travels and running the business, I mean, I really have to work on carving out that time and taking care of myself. And this doesn't mean hair and nails. This is like breath work and yoga and, making sure I have good coaches and spiritual partners in my life. So I'm very aware and it still gets triggered.
Thank you for that. I
So it
love
doesn't
the,
matter where
yeah.
you're at on the journey, there are always going to be opportunities to move through triggers to get to the next
Yeah,
Yeah.
but the nice thing
phase.
is I'm very aware of them, right? And I will
Yeah.
say, even with my daughter, I'm like, Lauren, you really trigger me sometimes. And I try to explain to her what that means. It's like, this isn't you. This is something that has happened to me that you ignite and makes me feel a certain way. And I think when we can be aware of our triggers, then we can take a minute and go, okay, I'm being triggered. Let's do the breath work. Let's do the 4-step process. Like, let's get clear on what that looks like so then I can, you know,
Hmm.
recalibrate.
For sure. For sure. Well, so obviously this is the Embodied Woman podcast. So what, you just mentioned some of the tools that you use to help you kind of come back to your most centered place. What would you describe? What is an embodied woman? What does that mean to you? When do you feel like you are the most embodied version of yourself?
Mm-hmm. I feel embodied is really like accepted, wholeness,
Mm-hmm.
right? Just really understanding who you are, your non-negotiables, what you're willing to tolerate, what you're not, really going back to the gifts that we've all been given. I mean, embodied, like, are you embodying all the things? Are you walking your talk? Are you in integrity? I feel I'm most embodied, honestly, when I'm doing my genius work. When I like, we just had a 2-day event for some of our clients, and Amber, I was vibrating at such a high level, and I'm like, this is it.
This is it.
When I'm running a master class, when I'm hosting Brilliant, when I'm in these spaces with you, I wish I could say it's when I'm a mom or, when I'm on vacation. It is not. It is not. I feel most embodied when I'm expressing who I am and the gifts that I feel I've been given.
I love that
I will
so
say being a
much.
mom is not it. I love my kids so much, and it's hard for me sometimes. It's not hard for me to be present. I feel like I'm present with them, but sometimes the patience and um, the understanding I feel an 8-year-old or a 4-year-old need of me.
Mm-hmm.
That does not come as easy as coaching female entrepreneurs. Like I can do that all day, every day with my eyes closed.
I
So
Well, a
relate to that.
4-year-old, that's still because mine are 9 and 11 now. And I will say that I feel like being a mom is not as difficult as I feel like it used to be for me.
oh, great.
I think that has a lot to do with the work that I've done and
Hmm.
also just the age that they're at.
Yeah.
Like 4 is still,
Yeah, you're still in it.
you're still
Yeah.
in it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's to be expected.
But Keri, I just want to say thank you so much for your vulnerability and your transparency and not being like, yeah, I love motherhood because I struggle so much with being a mom. It's like when
Mm.
they were younger, there was so much boring stuff.
Yeah.
Being home with someone who's nonverbal,
Yeah.
so boring. And like, love my kids.
You're like, can we please have a conversation?
But
This
I
is
need an
getting,
adult
yeah.
conversation now.
Yeah.
And then now my boys are getting older, 8 and 10. They like boy stuff that I just there's very few things we connect on,
Yeah.
and it's challenging. Like I feel most lit up, like you, being of service to
Yeah.
women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
I
I
agree.
feel you, girl. I mean, thankfully, my 8-year-old is very girly. She loves to dance. It's great to support her. She really struggles with just understanding how to express emotions.
Oh
And so
yeah.
working with her on that and having the patience and the love to
Oof.
help her understand, like she'll go from 0 to 100 in a
Oh
nanosecond.
yeah.
Mhm.
How do we regulate, right? How do we,
Yeah.
and then yeah, a 4-year-old, right? Just all over the place. And they both bring so much joy, but it's not easy for me being a mom, like
Yes.
again, and I still feel like an embodied woman, but it's not easy, I will say.
Yeah.
So I
It's
Yeah.
not
appreciate
like
that
when
too.
we're having these conversations, time just stands
Right.
still, and I'd rather be
No
nowhere
place
else
we'd
but
rather be,
here,
right?
right?
Yeah.
Being a mom, it's like you're walking on eggshells. It's like it could be good 1 second, it could be crazy the next
When is
second.
it
It's like
bedtime?
yeah,
Sorry, when you don't
That.
want to nap anymore? Are you
yeah.
sure you don't want to nap?
My kids, so I'm divorced, and so dad and mom's house is very different, and mom
Mhm.
has a bedtime that is earlier
Oh yeah.
than dad's.
Yeah.
And so I get well, why don't you go to bed so early? I'm like, because your mom likes to go to bed early. And your mom likes to get up early, and this is how it is. And you can stay up as late as you want at your dad's house, but this is how it is, and I need to go to bed.
That's right.
Yes.
I'll tell Lauren, like, you need to go to sleep because I'm ready to go to sleep.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
That's right.
I have a question. So how do you help women when they come to you and they are like, but I don't know what my genius is, right?
Mm.
Because you know what your
Mm.
genius is. I know what my genius is, and it feels really good. But I coach women that are like, I don't even know I don't even know what my genius is. Like,
Mhm.
how do you help women
Mhm.
find what that is?
Yeah, I would say, Amber, when most people come to me, they're really good at what they do. They might not really be tapped into that zone of genius, which is where we kind of like peel back the onion. So I always ask, the questions that get it rooted in, if you weren't selling homes, if you weren't the med spa owner, like it's the surface versus core that I teach. So surface is, this is what I do, but this is what you really want. And what they really want is usually like our core. It's our why. It's, for me, I teach people how to be on camera. That's a small thing of what I do, right? That's like the door that opens the house. But what I really, and this is what my ladies want too, they want freedom. They want to feel like they have made the greatest value and impact while they're on the planet. They want to leave legacy. They want to do good in the world. They believe in God and they want to share their gifts. Like video is such a small part. And so that's the same thing I do with my ladies. It's like, look, I know that this is what you do, but let's go back to who you are. And why do you do what you do? Like, what about it do you love? And we just keep chipping it away. And I think that the key is to get them to shift from thinking it's about them to knowing, not thinking, to knowing it's about someone else. And I feel like as we do that work, they get more dialed in to the passion behind it, to why they started the business, to what it is about the result they are really excited about. So that's some of the things that we do.
It's like the
You got to get them out
ikigai.
of identity into their job. Like that's the core. It's like you are not what you do. So let's go back to who you are and let's find that out and then we'll figure out the rest.
Right.
I was just saying, it's like the ikigai. It's like that, like, what are you good at? What's needed? Where's your passion? What do you want to say? So the practices, you mentioned breath work, you mentioned some and NFL
Yoga.
and yeah,
Neuro-linguistic programming, NLP.
yeah,
Not
NLP.
NFL.
Not NFL.
NFL.
No, not NFL.
Different
NFL.
podcast.
I would just love to know, like, what would be maybe your top three when you're just like the kids are triggering you, or you're having a challenge, whatever that is, some wound comes up for you, you're feeling out of alignment for a moment or for a few days or a week, whatever. Like, what would you say is like for you, Keri, your go to, like, this thing is gonna work for you?
It absolutely is taking time to breathe and meditate for sure. And by the way, I'm not like, I wouldn't give me a gold star for meditation, but I love it when I do it and I'm just still. I will say like walking, going for a walk. I'm also a big yogi now, which is crazy because if you
Wow.
would have told me that a few years ago, I was such a gym rat, taught group exercise for years. I cannot wait to get to yoga. There's something mind body that I leave yoga feeling not only like I did something really good for my body, but something I did really good for my mind. Like it just recenters me. And I feel like I'm so much more calm. I'm more open. I breathe, right, for an hour. So it's taking the breath work and putting it into movement, as you know. So I've just really fell in love with yoga over the years. And then prayer. I'm still very much a spiritual warrior. I pray. I have this great book. It's actually a book over here. But it's journaling and writing out my thoughts. And I'm not going to say it's not like an instant fix. I'm being triggered. Let me go do this right now. Breath support is huge. Breathe in for 4, hold it for 4, exhale for 4. Like just your nervous system can't but help like slow down, take space. And I will say that's probably the key to everything. Every one of those practices, whether you're at yoga or you're doing breath work and meditation or you're praying, like creating space for yourself, getting out of busy and going for that walk. And not because it's exercise, but because you just need space to breathe and to think things through. I can't run this company and I cannot be a great mom if I do not make that space for me. I will go bananas. And there are days that I don't and I feel it. So I would say those are kind of the 3 main things.
Do you have like a regimented system? My husband's all into the miracle morning. So he is like 5 a.m. and then he does the 2 and it's like, and then gym. And I'm like, I want to be with you and do all the things you're doing because I know I should, but there's something in me that's just like, I don't want to keep that up.
Yeah, you know what? I hear the miracle hour, the miracle morning, like get up. And I used to teach group exercise at 5:30 in the morning. You cannot get me up right now. Every time I get up for like a 6 a.m. yoga class, I feel like I've done something really bad. Like I'm being punished. I need my sleep.
Yes.
And I'm
Yes.
not gonna, I think it's so important. Even working, I did hire a personal trainer and he will say like the most important thing for your nervous system is sleep. Your mental
Yes.
health is sleep.
Yes.
So
So
true.
if I don't give myself my 7 to 8 hours, you're not going to wake me up early. It's just so I can say I marked something off on my book and I got up early for like,
Thank you.
um, yeah, no, thank you. I'm going to sleep. But I am really committed every single day to some sort of movement. I am really making sure throughout the day I take 10 minutes to breathe and pray, but I'm not regimented in where I do it. I would love to say it's in the beginning of the day, but I roll out. My two kids are going to school. I start work. Sometimes I do it, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
I'm not going to shame myself for that. I just make sure throughout the day, usually it's about 4 o'clock. The kids are still they're coming home from school. Lauren's at dance. That's like my power hour that I can
Mm.
just do what I need to do.
That's like where everyone's energy could just kind of like dips a little bit. That four
Yeah.
o'clock. Yeah.
Yeah. So then I have me time and then I come back for dinner and get to be with the kids the rest of the night.
Oh, I love this so much, Amber.
Yeah.
I
You
do
can't get me up
too.
at 5 a.m. right now, though. Sorry.
No,
Which
no.
is okay, but I am a morning person. I have no, once I'm up, I'm good.
Yeah.
But yeah, my sleep is so sacred right now. I just feel like everything that I'm doing requires so much of me. So by the
Yes.
Yeah.
time I hit the pillow, I really am like,
You're done.
gotta go. Mhm.
No, I'm the same way. Like I can get up at like 5 in the morning, but to go like there's a 7:15 class on Monday mornings. And for the last 2 Mondays, I've set my alarm and I'm like, I'm gonna try that. And then my alarm goes off. I'm like, no,
No,
I can't. It's like
maybe next time.
I have this like mental thing, like can't move the body until 9. Like I can I can have my morning ritual, I can have my thing, but like I don't know, I can't exercise
You,
before 9.
you know what
But there's
it
nothing wrong with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
you
that's what works for me.
Yeah.
That's what works
you
for
know
me.
what it is when you've spent 10 years being a mom and you've had to get up in the middle of the night
Oh
and you've
yeah.
had to get up at 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. Like, and your whole childhood you spend having to get up so early. It's the first time in my life where there's actually a window where I'm like, I could get up when I want to.
Yeah, I'm still not there yet, Siri. So my son, he's up at 6 a.m. every day. And so when my husband's gone, I'm up at 6 a.m. So there goes my miracle,
Yeah,
my hours done, right? I'm not getting up
yeah,
earlier than that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then when he is home, we rotate days. So it's like, okay, you're up with Landon, I'm up with Landon.
Yep.
And to have that extra hour to
hmm
just like sleep and not have to be up. Here's the thing, ladies. We have a lot of have tos. We
Yeah.
do. And I still get up in the middle of the night with Landon sometimes. He'll start
Yep.
crying for no reason or whatever. And there goes my night's sleep. It's like we get to. That's an embodied woman. We get to. We say what makes us feel good, what's good for our body. If we want to move after 9, great. If we want to work out at 4 o'clock, great. If you want to work out at 5 a.m., great. Like
yep.
figure out what fuels you and do that. And don't bash anyone who doesn't. You're not wrong. Let's not make wrong. Like this is good for me and this is good for you.
Okay,
Totally.
we got to ask the hands of God question.
Oh, okay.
So I know you had that moment when you first moved to LA. That was like a hands of God moment.
Mhm.
You know the oh, I almost said Sherman Oaks. Was it Sherman Oaks that you moved
No.
to?
Um, it was off of Cahuenga there.
You
Where
moved
North
to,
not
but
not
LA?
Sherman
you
Oaks.
moved to the valley, you said, after that.
No, I didn't mean that.
Oh,
I didn't mean
okay.
the valley. I meant on the other side of where I was.
Okay.
Somewhere over there. Seven
Somewhere
times.
over
7 times
there.
over there.
Oh, don't worry. Okay, so point being, like, when did you feel the hands of God? In your recent memory, or one that just stands out for you?
Mm, Gosh, there's so many. I feel like I feel them often, but the
Mm.
one that I feel is most profound that I probably don't talk or share about very much is when I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. Oh my gosh, I feel tears. Hang on. Mm.
Let them come.
Ah, yeah, I don't believe in any, I mean, I would never say accident. She was a surprise. And I just knew that I was supposed to be her mom, that It was such a stressful time being a single mom without any family around. Inspired living was very new.
Mm.
And I felt the hands of God all the time. Like you were provided for. I moved into a place in the South Bay. I had no idea how I was going to make the rent. I just trusted and I felt all the hands and I felt so embodied and I felt so lucky um, through that time. My business grew. I just had such a connection with Lauren. I can't even explain it, but I even when I found out I was pregnant, I didn't have to have her, right? I mean, I could have chose not to have her. I knew the dad wasn't going to be involved. And it was never even a thought in my head. Like, this is exactly where I should be. Now, that doesn't mean I didn't have any fear and was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But I felt so provided for. And I
Mm.
was.
Babies come with their own fortune.
Oh, that is so beautiful. Yeah.
I mean, I talk about that a lot in my book that's coming out next, like the 22nd, it's coming out soon.
Ah.
But I talk about that like when I became a mom to Dawson, like there was something that was born in me that like I, it was strangely familiar, but also like something that I didn't know that I had
Hmm.
in me. And I totally have this feeling that she like chose that moment, knowing that I needed her
Yeah.
in that moment. And yeah, like this, that feeling, whatever was born, like the mother, the divine, it is what continues to help me rise when I
Hmm.
want to give up and when I want to, curl in a ball and I feel like it's too hard. Like that strength that I
Yeah.
have from whatever was birthed in me when she was born and then her brother a couple years later, it's like that strength is something that I tap into all the time.
Yeah, let's talk about that. Like, I did not know that I had this mama bear inside me.
Right?
I mean, I knew I was fierce, but man, like that level of protection and
Yeah.
fire and yeah, unlocked
Ooh,
a whole can of whoop ass.
yeah. So this is good. This is a good segue because I think it's the combination of, right? So we love to talk about like sexuality and sensuality and our life force energy. And
Hmm.
so it's like it's that, right? It's like the
Yeah.
divine goddess sexual beings that we are and then the mama bear, like you bring those two together and it's like
Watch out, world.
what?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes, for
So
sure.
I would love to hear about that too, like what your relationship is with your own sensuality, sexuality, how that helps you feel like the most embodied, how you activate your life force energy when you notice that maybe you're not,
Yeah. I
in
mean,
that.
can I be really honest? Like, I feel like
Please.
I'm just now
Yes,
working on
please.
that again.
Okay.
Because after having Landon and having
Yeah.
Lauren and running the business, like honestly, and I'm probably perimenopause, right? I'm 48. So my
Yeah. That's
hormones are rock. Like I just got my labs done and my doctor's like, "Are you alive right now?" Like everything's rock bottom. So my libido, my drive has just been like, I'll take it or leave it. And I love my husband more than anything. And he's an incredible partner, but it just hasn't been my focus. And
yeah.
as I've focused more on getting my body in better shape, working on my energy levels,
Mm-hmm.
I am, of course, we all are very sensual beings, right? I love feeling like that embodied sensuality, that part of me. And I've been having to refine her lately.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and instead of making it a thing to do, it's like a thing I want because it's like, oh, my needs, my pleasure, like that's the last thing I'm going to think about. I have sleep, I have things to do, you know?
Right.
And so I'm working on that right now. I'm working on, the hormone replacement, the energy levels, the space for myself.
I mean, you've
Um,
still got the 4-year-old. I feel like that
Yeah.
phase, you're still in the 4-year-old phase, don't feel so sexy.
you don't feel so sexy. And well, I will tell you, honestly, there are times I actually feel super sexy. I got a breast lift last year. Like I feel real good, but I'm so tired.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm so depleted between giving to my baby, which is my business, and then giving to my babies like you just at the end of the day, you just feel like such a stretched noodle,
Yes.
you
Yes.
know?
Yes.
That
So
is
it's
true.
funny. I feel like getting more creative, doing staycations with my husband. Like I
Hmm.
will say we have been really horrible at making time for ourselves. And we keep talking about it. And it's like we have to find time for us.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
you know, our needs. And so that's one thing this year we're committed to. It's like we have to stop putting ourselves on the back burner because it's easy to do.
For sure. So easy
I
to do.
I just want to hear a little bit because I think that it's so easy to look at your life right now. I mean, if you go on Instagram, you're like, she's got this bazillion-dollar business and she's got the man of her dreams and these beautiful children and she's so amazing and da da da. Like, but it wasn't always like that, right? Like you were a single mom building this on your own, like,
Mm.
but this love story, like I'm a sucker for a good love story.
I love a good love story too. Yeah, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, there's no straight road to success. And even when you reach a mile marker that says success lives here, it doesn't. It moves, you know.
Mm,
And yes, I'm so blessed. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the problems I have are very first world problems, managing money and team and family and all the things. I have my health, I have a beautiful home. I am incredibly grateful. And there are days I just want to break down and cry. So, like, it's because the pressure, like, you know, you build something and then you have to sustain it. I'm not responsible just
mm,
for me and Lauren anymore. I have a team of
right,
14. I have a house that has a hefty mortgage. I have, you know, so yeah, it looks amazing and
right.
it is. But let's be honest, the pressure to keep up with that, right? Keep up with the Joneses. I don't have to keep up with anyone but myself, but I've created quite the quite the benchmark. But yeah, I mean, come on, it wasn't even, what is it? 2024. It was 9 years ago, right? Lauren turns 9. I was a single mom,
Yeah.
not knowing really where my next paycheck was coming from. Total trust fall. I love that song from Pink. I'm obsessed.
We
Me
were
too.
just listening to that.
Yeah,
Oh, duh.
so good.
Yeah. And yet I will say I knew that I was going to build something great. I knew, but it was very much paycheck to paycheck, lots of tears, no family around. Like I don't have anyone to watch my kids when I'm gone. And so finding speaking engagements or doing all the things. Um, yeah. So, you know, all the things we talk about, resilience, trust, you know, sharpening your own blade, really figuring out how you can serve others. And that's just been really, that is my focus, is how do I reach more lives? And the more I focus on that, the more abundance I bring in. When I'm
Hmm.
focused on money, when I'm
Hmm.
focused on how am I going to get paid more, it's always hard. But when I
Hmm.
can shift that to be like, how do I really go out and help more people or help people that we have in a deeper way? Like that always brings it in. And so, yeah, please know I have tears. I have, my stress is off the charts. I really have to work on my stress management. And so that's part of like what you don't see. I am very stressed out. But what's so funny is that I don't feel it. Like all my labs say I am, and my assessments say I am. I feel I'm in joy a whole lot, but I do feel like a very stressed rubber band. Can't lie.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you can feel stressed being unsuccessful and being unaligned, not in alignment
totally.
and doing things you don't like. So might as well
Might as well
do,
be stressed doing something that you love. And I will
That you
say,
love.
I love it so much. I wake up every day and I can't wait to get to work. And
yeah.
that to me is the best sign. I'm not having the 5-year itch, right? It's like I just get more
Yeah.
excited about what we're
Yeah.
doing and how we're doing it. So that tells me, and it's funny, every reading I have, it's like you're doing what you've meant, like this is it. I'm like, I know, I can feel
I
it. And
know. Yeah.
that feels really good, but it doesn't mean the how is always super clear or that we don't, you know, fail forward every day or like I don't make mistakes. That's the privilege of being an entrepreneur is you make mistakes all the time and hopefully you learn from them and you make different ones. So, but okay, really quick. So I met my husband on Bumble. And why I
Okay.
love this story so much is, you know, single mom. My best friend was a single mom too. And I'm like, we're not going to go to bars and meet people. So I was on 2 apps, eHarmony, which every match was like, did you even read what I was asking you for? Like none of this
Yeah.
aligns.
Yeah.
And then Bumble. And so I'm swiping on Bumble and I would get tired of it. Like, this is not working. There's no one here. And so I logged off for a while and then I logged back on and I saw my husband on there. And I had a very strict, no musician, no actor policy. Nope.
No.
No starving artists, no like. And so Michael swiped right on me. And on Bumble, the woman has to initiate the conversation.
Yeah.
I like being in control. Could you tell? So I was going to let it expire because I'm like, I changed my mind, right? He's cute. He's a musician. No go. So on Bumble, the men have like one Hail Mary where they can use a pass to extend the time and they only get one. So Bumble was
Oh.
like, ooh, you must be really special because Michael used his one Hail Mary on you. So then I was like, well, crap. Now I have to talk to him or else I would just be an ass, right? Like, that's not nice. And so this was a Saturday. Again, remember it like yesterday. And we went out on that Monday. We met at Mangiamo's in Manhattan Beach, and I was done. I'm like, oh crap. Like, he's cute. He dresses well. He was a very accomplished musician. And from there, I think that week we saw each other probably 4 or 5 times, just like not
Wow.
planned. Like he was out with friends, I was out with friends, that sort of thing. And I'll tell you, he has been the most, don't make me cry again, the most amazing dad to Lauren.
Mm.
He's, I'll never forget. He's like, I think I want to have one of my own. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, because Lauren's 4 when I had Landon. And I was like, but 4, it's still hard, but at least they're kind of self-sufficient. There's no more diapers, right? All the things. I'm
Right.
like, I can't do it again. And I did. At 45, I had Landon, which is
Wow.
Wow.
remarkable. Amazing pregnancy. But yeah, those nights where you're not sleeping and yeah, that miracle hour is me on the pillow. But that is why I think I love a good love story too. And it kind of comes down to know what you want, but be willing to look outside the box for it. Like, don't get so caught up in your lists of what you want and don't want. Like for me, just like when I hire a team, it's so much more about energy and vision than it is about skill, you know? And
Mm.
and so Michael and I, in a lot of ways, we complement each other tremendously. And we're two Geminis that could not be more different. Could not be more different. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's beautiful.
I love that. Okay, so energy and vision, and then also the thing that I really think is a big takeaway when you're talking about money, like rather than when you think about how can I make money, it's hard. But when you think about how can I be of service and create really powerful impact,
Yeah.
that's when the money flows to you.
Always.
I think that's
Always.
so important to remind ourselves and remind whoever's listening.
We
Yeah.
literally just had that same exact conversation with Kathy Heller.
Yep,
Yep.
today.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, if you're looking at your bank account going, I need more money, I need more money, I need more money. Well, first of all, you're programming your mind not to have the money, right? Because,
Right.
but also it's like I am more than enough, right? I am living in abundance each and every day, and then it's like, well, what's the action? And I will say that that's where a lot of business women come to me is they have no action plan on how they're going to create more. Like they're like, oh yeah, I have this amount of clients, or I have this one speaking engagement, or I have this one thing. I'm like, well, that's not going to create the life freedom that you want. So let's play with that a little bit. But it really is shifting energy. I'm just such a big believer, as I know you both are. Like energy always wins.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Where you put it, what you think about, you bring about. It's so true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Carrie, you're so refreshing. You're so real. You're so honest.
Yes.
Thank
It's
you.
so clear. It's so clear that you love helping women and that
I do.
Yeah.
you've been on this path of like, no, I have struggled and I have seen the dark places. Like that's why they can relate to you.
Yeah. And I will say, you have no idea how much that means. I so appreciate that. And I see that beauty in you as well. But it was when I had Lauren that I felt like, which was, by the way, like growing up Christian, like all the shame. I can't tell anyone. I have a child out of
Mm.
wedlock. I cannot tell you, ladies, when I posted about Lauren, I was shaking, like
Hmm.
sobbing. Like, what are people going to think about me? And the the most beautiful outpouring of love and support. And I had clients say to me, forever I just saw you as a pretty talking head, and you didn't get me. And I think this is so important for every woman to hear right now that we don't want just the play by play. We don't want the glossy life. We really do want to know your struggles, your pains, what you've overcome, that you bleed, that you are a real person. And that was a huge tipping point for my business when people actually saw I'm not just a TV host turned entrepreneur, or I'm not just this, right? Like I really am just another woman tried to figure it out like you. I might be just a couple steps ahead here, but you're a couple steps ahead of me over here. So why don't we just come together and support each other? And it's
Yes.
been so awesome
Hmm.
to, evolve into that. And it's ongoing.
Thank you. You're so
Amazing.
amazing.
Carrie, this has been such a gift.
Oh,
Sorry,
thanks, dearie.
Can you hear that? Okay. The cleaners are like right there.
And thank you for the wrap up time.
Such a gift. Where would you like our audience to find you?
I would honestly say the best place to find me is on Instagram at
Okay.
Inspired Living TV. Come follow, come DM me. I mean, if I said something that resonated with you, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to connect with you. I mean, the website is great, but I can't connect with you on the website. So you can go find out more at inspiredliving.tv. But if you want to start chatting or let me know how you felt about this conversation, Instagram is the place.
Wonderful.
Yay. Thank you, Keri. It was so good to see you. You're so
Amber,
amazing.
so big hugs. And Siri, my other Pacific Northwest girl.
Yes.
So nice to meet you today.
So good
you
to
for
meet
this
you.
beautiful conversation.
Thank you so much. You are a gift. You are a gift.
Back at you, girls.
All right. Mwah. Bye.
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 Oh, she's amazing.
Oh, I love her.
I do too.
I can see why you wanted to have her on.
Isn't she just such a bright light? And she's so honest too, and just humble. Like,
very humble, very honest, very transparent.
Yeah.
But like she said, super optimistic, positive. She's grit. She's got the grit. You can see why she's been successful is because she's gritty.
For sure.
And like she clearly knows her stuff. Like she's doing all the things. She's doing all the inner work, but she also understands how to do business and how to be on camera. So she's got something figured out. But it's nice that she said, like, guys, I'm super stressed out because, you know, it's a lot of responsibility when you grow this much and you're juggling all these things. And it's like, oh, yes, thank you. Like, okay. But it's hard for everyone, no matter what stage they're at, because we're always leaning into our edge. We're always bumping up. If we're growing, like she's always growing, you're always growing, I'm always growing. Our audience members are people who are always growing because they're listening to this. Like you're gonna keep bumping your edge no matter what stage you're at. And even into like retirement, because, you know, like, for example, my parents listen to our podcast and it's like, or, you know, my in-laws, like it, and then what? Like, well, that's a whole other phase of like, well, what do I do now? I've lived my life, and like now I need to find a new purpose. When you get to that phase, like there's all these like phases, like she's with the 4-year-old now. She's in that phase. It's like she just wants to get her sleep in. I remember that. I remember just like, oh, could I just get my sleep in? Could I just get a night where I sleep through the night? Just one night.
I'm kind of there right now with my freaking night sweats. Let me tell you.
I realized that when I was saying, I was like, oh shit. I realized, okay, well, is she gonna say
I got the house to myself. My kids are at their dad's, but I can't freaking sleep through the night without my night. I have to blow dry my hair twice last night. It's like, geez, Louise.
Wait, you blew dry your hair during the night?
Well, I wake up soaking wet, and I literally like have to get up and blow dry my hair. I get to do what Keri is doing and do my blood work, but I mean, I did before, and then I had the progesterone for a while, and but I don't know. Anyway, it's a thing. Like, at every phase there are challenges, and every phase we are evolving into the next version. Because like this is in my mind, right? And this is kind of the analogy. Like in my mind, I'm like, when I just get to the point where like I, you know, don't have my cycle and I don't have any more night sweats, like it's gonna be smooth sailing. Like when I tell myself, it's like, nope, there's probably gonna be something else. Something else at that point. But anyhow, there's always something. And that was a good reminder to hear from her, because I think it's easy for some of us to look at someone who is, you know, running a 7-figure business, because that's where we aspire to be. And we think, gosh, like once you get there, then you don't have all, you know.
I mean, yes, please. And also, I don't know. I mean, success, like we were talking about earlier, what is that for you? Because to me, it is not a number, although sometimes I think it is, but it is my freedom.
Yeah.
And she talked about freedom a couple times.
Yeah.
And so that's, to me, really like, that's it. That's the whole deal.
I think we talked about that in the quilt call with Kathy last week about really with Amy Tangerine, who we're going to have on our podcast. So I'm excited
That's,
to talk to her about that because
yeah.
she said that, like, really get clear about what you want
Yes.
and what success looks like to you.
Yep.
Like, because that's really what matters. Like, and really, like, what is important? I know for me, and we've talked about this, like, I know for me, like, my perfect day is doing a podcast interview, doing our sisterhood membership,
Yes.
dancing, moving my body,
Yes. Yes.
right? Like getting to pick up my kids from school and
Yep.
take them to their activities. You know, or when they're with their dad, like doing other things that really nourish me and feed my soul. Like that's a perfect day. And
Like you get to walk on the beach and listen to Taylor Swift whenever
I do.
don't
I
have the
do.
kids. Like
Yes, I
that's
do.
it.
That's right. And so so I want to take that. This is exactly like I'm living the life that I'm happy about.
Yeah, you are.
I want now to like manifest the financial abundance that I can freely and joyfully cover all my expenses and then some to be able to do really fun things. Like I love being able to take my kids and their friends like out to dinner and be like, get what you
Yes.
guys want. Like that
Yeah,
brings me
totally.
so much joy, you know? And
Yeah.
then love and partnership, like boom, that's success to me. That's
Well,
success to me.
Amber, you said this to me in our sisterhood. You said, you're so good at loving.
Mm.
And, or was that when you came to breathwork?
It
When you
was in
came to
breathwork.
breathwork, you came to
Yes.
breathwork. You're so good at loving. And like Amber, back to you, sister. You're so good at loving and you're so good at loving your kids. I mean, the way you love your kids, the way you appreciate your kids, the way you love spending time with them and just adoring them and just caring about them and wanting them to have the best life possible is so inspiring to me. Literally, like every day I think about it. I want to be a better mom because of you. You know this, I've said this before. The way you love your clients, the way you love the people that come into our environments, that, the way you love me, like that is success, being the most loving person in the room. That's it. That's power right there.
Yeah. Yeah. I love loving people.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about that, like how, in past relationships, I used to beat myself up about the people that I chose to love because I thought that it reflected something broken in me for choosing someone that, could not love me in the way that I deserve to be loved.
Right.
And what I realize now is that there's nothing broken with me. I just have such a huge desire to love people, and particularly the people that appear to need to be loved the most.
Yeah.
So I'm learning like how to be discerning and choose where I pour my love.
Right. Me
And
too. Yes.
yeah. So
I think that's a process we all go through. But last thing I want to say about Keri is,
yes.
I look at her and I feel like, oh my God, she used the word glossy. And I was like, oh my God, she's so glossy.
Yeah.
When I saw her Instagram, when I see her face, I'm like, she's so pretty. She's so glossy. She's so perfect. Like, oh my gosh, I'm so like, whatever. And the leveler is our humanity, and being a mom. And it's like, no matter how quotes perfect you seem to be or successful or how much money you make, we all have to get up in the middle of the night and clean up vomit. Like we all get to do
or
that.
blow dry our hair. Yes.
Yeah. Like we all get to do these very human things that we can just connect and be like, oh, I know, I feel you.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'll tell you, like, we were talking about like knowing your genius.
Yeah.
I had this like another aha moment this morning. So a dear friend of mine recently sent me a text message and she said, I have a friend who's going through a really painful divorce. And can I give her your number? I think that you guys have some things in common. And I think it would be really helpful. And this was like maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. And I responded to the woman. And then I never heard from her. And then I just heard from her this morning. And she kind of explained a little bit of her situation. And I thought, if I am a way shower, like we discussed in our episode with Joya,
Yeah.
how the reason we have the experiences that we have is so that we can be of service.
Yeah.
That is one of the definitions of being a way shower. Like, I experience it, I move through it so that I can be on the other side and hold your hand and say, I know where you've been. And so she sent me this text message, and we have very similar experiences.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like at the beginning of the separation.
Mm-hmm.
And I just had this moment where I was like, of course, God sends me the women that need my experience.
Yeah.
They need my wisdom so that I can love them. 111. I can love them from having seen their humanity, because I've experienced what
they've been through.
And that I know is my genius. That is, and that's what feels so good to my heart when I can like relate to somebody in that way.
Yeah. And also your ability to get the perspective on everything, like your ability to perceive is very honed. Well, Amber, thank you for showing up. I know you have a cold today.
I have a little cold.
And
I'm not 100%, but I'm good.
I appreciate that you show up with all of you, even when you aren't feeling 100%, and that means the world. And we were having a conversation before we hopped on about just like, it's just about being present, and it's not about being perfect, it's about being present. And because I have to remind myself of that. And so I guess I want to leave our audience with this thought of, well, what if you weren't perfect, but you were just present to whatever's in front of you? And that's enough.
That's it.
Love you guys.
That's embodiment. Being present,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Being present in the moment. All right. Love you.
Mwah. Thanks.